I'm very heavily, I'm top weighted. So my best 5 or 6 ideas account for probably 70% of my portfolio right now. And then the other, 2/3 of my names are the other, 30% of my portfolio. But I would say if I had like the stock that's in my portfolio right now that I think has the potential to deliver the best returns over the next 5 or 10 years is still a stock called DermTech. So DermTech, it's a California-based company, and they created these genomics smart patches, or stickers, as some people call them. They're about the size of a quarter. And what they're meant to do is help patients or dermatologists detect skin cancer without having to use a biopsy. So it's these little patches. So, typically if you go to your dermatologist and you have a suspicious looking mole, which is called a pigmented lesion, the dermatologist would either, look at it with his eye, or perhaps under a, magnifying glass or those little special glasses they wear, or they would take a picture of it. And then next time you come back, they would take another picture and compare the two. But either way, neither one of those is really scientific. The other option is biopsy. So if they think that the mole looks suspicious, they can order a biopsy where they're basically cutting off a piece of the mole or the entire mole to analyze it. And every year in the US, there's over 4 million biopsies, but 90% of those biopsies come back negative, which is great. It means the person doesn't have cancer right now, but it also means that over 3.5 million people have an unnecessary biopsy done to their body. So what DermTech is doing is creating these patches that would essentially replace those unnecessary biopsies. So instead of getting a biopsy, every time there's a suspicious mole on your body, they could use one of these patches to basically pull off the skin cells. And then those, that patch with those skin cells get shipped off to California to DermTech's lab for analyzing, and they're able to tell, with 99% accuracy, if there's anything to be worried about in those skin cells. And that's called their PLA product. And then they're now launching PLA Plus, which is even more sensitive because it adds another indicator. And then later this year, DermTech is going to launch a product called Luminate, which is their kind of skin analysis product for consumers. So, we all know that, too much exposure to the sun is bad for your skin, and it can cause problems down the road, including skin cancer. So what DermTech is doing is creating this product that's going to allow people to have their skin analyzed, so they can try to detect any of these problems as early as possible, because, the recovery rate from skin cancer is very, very high if you catch it early enough, and that's probably true for any cancer. But once it starts to spread, the mortality rate obviously goes up considerably. So the idea with DermTech is to try to use these non-invasive patches to detect skin cancer as early as possible, get it treated, get it removed, so that you can go on to live a long, healthy, happy life. And the insurance companies are on board now too. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, some of their, they're split up. Blue Cross Blue Shield is split up into like 30 or 32 different organizations, or I think they call it federations. Several of them have come out in support of DermTech's patch. The patch is supported by Medicare and Medicaid. So, what DermTech now has to do is convince the dermatologists to use the patch before the scalpel. Because if you're a dermatologist and, you went through school and internship and residency and all of that, you learned that, biopsy is the best way to determine if you have, cancerous cells on your body. To get those dermatologists to now shift to something new, it's, it doesn't happen overnight. But that's where the opportunity is for investors like me and others that are willing to get into these stocks early, before you get mass adoption, right? I mean, once you get mass adoption, forget it. I mean, the stocks are ripping at that point. But if you're willing to get in early, while the company is trying to get this product into the dermatologist offices, as you see adoption, that's when you see the stock price, put up some pretty significant returns for shareholders. So DermTech is one of them. ClearPoint is another. ClearPoint is a real-time MRI imaging system that'll be used for three main things. So minimally invasive brain surgery, DBS, which is deep brain stimulation, and then drug delivery to the brain. So I believe there is 50 or 100 different drug companies that are working on, drugs for, different neurological diseases that would require ClearPoint as the delivery system for those drugs to very specific points in the brain. So those are two of my favorite companies right now and two of my biggest positions. I still have big positions in Upstart, which is an AI-enabled underwriting platform or underwriting technology that is being licensed and used by regional banks. So you have your big national banks like Bank of America and JP Morgan. They have the resources where if they wanted to actually build a better AI underwriting system, they could do it. But there's thousands of these smaller regional banks, community banks, credit unions that might have 10, 20, 30 billion dollars in assets, but they don't really, they're not going to spend millions of dollars to develop their own AI. They're not going to, they don't have the people, they just don't have the expertise. Upstart was started by some guys from Google. They've been working on this for the last 7 years. They have billions and billions of data points on, borrowers and payments. And that's what enables the AI to continue improving over time. The more data points you have, the better your AI model can become. And the traditional underwriting model is FICO scores. FICO scores really haven't changed in 30 years. And what this AI model from Upstart does is use 1,600 data points on each individual. And they're able to analyze all of that in seconds and return a decision to the potential borrower. And what the system has been able to do is, for the banks that use Upstart for their underwriting, it's allowed them to underwrite twice as many loans without increasing the default rate. And if you're able to do that, then that bank is able to, significantly increase their revenues, because that's what the banks are in. Banks are in the business to do lending. That's where they make most of their money. They bring in deposits, those deposits sit there, and then the bank wants to lend them out and make money on the, the spread. So banks want to keep lending, but they realize that, these FICO scores is a very outdated way of doing things. And, Upstart's AI model really is the future. And right now they've only been doing personal loans, but now they're getting into auto loans. And then I suspect in the next couple of years, we'll see mortgages and home equity loans and small business loans, credit cards, student loans. So there's a ton of opportunity for Upstart to expand into additional credit verticals.